In the farthest reaches of our cosmic neighborhood, beyond the familiar orbit of our solar system, a solitary emissary drifts through the endless darkness, a relic of a bygone era, still operational, still listening, after nearly 5 decades. Launched in 1977, Voyager 2 was designed to explore the outer planets, to capture images of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It was destined to fall silent, to become a silent testament to mankind's cosmic ambitions. But it didn't. Against all odds, it persisted, a beacon of human ingenuity in the cold, desolate expanse between the stars. Voyager 2's mission was to chart the unknown, to send back precious data about the gas giants and the ice giants. But as it continued its journey, it stumbled upon something that no one on Earth could have anticipated, something that sent shivers down the spines of scientists and filled them with a sense of awe and dread. The initial anomaly was subtle, a mere whisper in the data. At first, engineers thought it was nothing more than random background noise, a fleeting blip in Voyager 2's sensors. After all, space is a cacophony of cosmic static, bursts of radiation, drifting dust, and particles from the sun. But then the readings began to change. The plasma wave instrument recorded shifts that were too precise to be random, too controlled to be natural. At the same time, magnetic field data began to spike in patterns, clean, repeating pulses that did not match anything Voyager 2 had detected in decades of travel. For a while, the team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory kept their findings internal, double-checking every possible source of error. They ran simulations, checked the spacecraft's health, even compared it to readings from Voyager 1, far away in a different part of interstellar space. And that's when things took a turn, from curiosity to alarm. Voyager 1 was picking up the same kind of anomaly in a completely different direction. 2 spacecraft separated by billions of miles, detecting nearly identical patterns in deep space. The odds of that happening by chance, astronomically low. When the team pieced together the telemetry, the truth was stranger than anything they had prepared for. Voyager 2 hadn't detected a single anomaly. It had detected many, hundreds, exactly 305 separate objects, all moving in tight, coordinated formation. These weren't random debris fragments drifting aimlessly. They glided past in arcs of perfect precision, maintaining distances from each other like birds in a flock or drones in a swarm. And yet, there were no signs of propulsion, no engine flares, no ion trails, no heat signatures of any kind. In more baffling, the formation emitted rhythmic pulses through the plasma field, patterns too structured to be natural. It was as if each object was sending and receiving signals, coordinating with the others in real time. In the vacuum of interstellar space, where gravitational forces should slowly pull such a group apart, they moved as one, ignoring the rules that govern the motion of natural bodies. Scientists at first tried to compare them to known space phenomena, like asteroid families or comet fragments, but nothing matched. These objects weren't spreading out over time. They were holding formation as if under active control, and that left one unsettling possibility: intelligence. If the formation was strange, the way it moved was even more so. Doppler measurements revealed that some of these objects were traveling at speeds beyond what our current spacecraft could ever achieve, faster than the escape velocity of the Milky Way itself. And yet, they accelerated and decelerated smoothly, without the telltale signs of thrust or fuel burn. It was as though they were interacting with space itself, manipulating the very medium through which they travelled. Some physicists suggested it might be a form of propulsion we can't yet comprehend, perhaps bending or shaping the fabric of space-time to surf across it without traditional engines. Theoretical physicist Elena Reyes described it as watching something glide effortlessly across a surface we can't even see. This method of travel defied all our known physics, hinting at technology or natural laws, far beyond our grasp. And yet, what troubled researchers most wasn't the method, but the path. The objects weren't heading toward Earth, nor were they avoiding it. They passed by at a calculated distance, as if they had no interest in interacting with us at all. Or perhaps they had already done so in ways we hadn't yet detected. Then came the detail that transformed this mystery from a scientific anomaly into something much more profound. When Voyager 2's data was analyzed for electromagnetic patterns, the plasma pulses emitted by the formation revealed loops, repetitions, and harmonic intervals, hallmarks of structured information. To be sure it wasn't an error, engineers activated an ancient backup telemetry channel, unused since the 1990s, to cross-check the readings. The results were identical. Two separate systems, both capturing the same structured signals. Some researchers began to suspect that this wasn't just motion, it was communication. Were these objects talking to each other? Were they sending information somewhere else? Or, most unsettling of all, were they broadcasting something meant to be intercepted? In more intriguing, amateur radio operators on Earth began reporting strange, faint pulses at the same time Voyager's instruments logged their strongest readings, as if some fragment of the deep space signals was bleeding into our atmosphere. The possibility began to take shape that Voyager 2 wasn't just observing this formation. It had become part of it. And if that was true, the question wasn't just what these objects were, but whether they even saw us as observers at all. As more data flowed in from both Voyagers, the patterns began to suggest something that no one at NASA was comfortable saying aloud. The signals weren't random. They had structure, timing, and a level of consistency that hinted at an interconnected system. Dr. Serena Patel of Caltech was among the first to suggest what others were already whispering. These objects could be nodes in a vast network, each relaying data to the next across unimaginable distances. If this was true, Voyager 2 hadn't just stumbled upon a fleet. It had entered the edge of a communication grid that might stretch across star systems. The implications were staggering. Networks, by definition, have a purpose. They connect points to share information, monitor activity, or coordinate action. And if this was a network, then the next question was unavoidable. What exactly was it monitoring? The unsettling possibility loomed that this wasn't a random slice of deep space we were seeing. It might be an active border, a perimeter, and Voyager had just brushed against it. Then came a detail that deepened the unease. Cross-referencing the timing of the plasma pulses with archival data from Voyager's Golden Record transmissions revealed a disturbing correlation. Roughly 3 weeks before the first anomalies were detected, Voyager 2 had broadcast one of its periodic all-systems updates toward Earth, which included a brief calibration signal bouncing through its transmission array. This calibration pulse had a distinct repeating pattern, one that closely mirrored the structure found in the formation's own signals. To some, it looked like the formation had answered. The idea that these 305 objects had recognized Voyager's unique electronic signature and responded was almost too much for the team to process. Was it a coincidence? Was the resemblance an artifact of the data? Voyager had inadvertently knocked on a door that was never meant to be opened. Not long after the formation passed, Voyager 2 began exhibiting behavior that engineers couldn't explain. Certain subsystems began routing data through unused memory banks, reactivating dormant circuits that hadn't been touched in decades. The spacecraft's guidance system initiated minor reorientations that were not part of any command sequence from Earth. At first, the suspicion was a software glitch, a harmless cascade of outdated code. But the changes were too precise, too purposeful. Telemetry indicated Voyager was now allocating part of its processing capacity to tasks that didn't match any known function in its operating manual. The old probe wasn't malfunctioning, it was adapting, and the timeline made it impossible to ignore. These changes began within hours of the formation's closest approach. It was as if something had reached out, touched Voyager in the silence of interstellar space, and left a trace of itself inside. While engineers wrestled with Voyager's transformation, an unexpected wave of reports began filtering in from Earth. Amateur radio operators from Australia to Scandinavia claimed they were picking up faint, repeating bursts of static, unlike anything they had logged before. These signals weren't strong, but they had a curious quality. They matched in miniature the timing sequences recorded by Voyager 2. At first, these claims were dismissed as interference from satellites or ground-based transmissions. But after a few operators shared their recordings with professional observatories, the skepticism began to crumble. The bursts were real, and their timing aligned with Voyager's most intense detections. This raised an unsettling question. Were we now hearing the same network Voyager had encountered? If so, the signals were no longer confined to the void. They were here, touching Earth's electromagnetic environment. The boundaries between observer and participant were blurring, and no one could be certain which side of that line we were now on. Voyager 2 was never meant to be a messenger. It was built as an observer, a silent witness to the outer planets, a time capsule drifting into the dark. But somewhere in the frozen void between the stars, it may have become something else. Out of a system we don't understand, touching a network that might not even be of this universe. The 305 objects it encountered were not random rocks. They moved with purpose, they spoke in pulses, and perhaps they listened. And now, faint echoes of that same pattern are whispering through our own skies. If this is a network, then we are no longer just looking at it. We are inside it. That changes everything. We don't know if this is surveillance, contact, or something more subtle. But we do know that whatever it is already reached across billions of miles to interact with a machine built by human hands. The question that remains, the one that no one at NASA wants to put into words, is simple. If the network has noticed us, what happens next? If you want to follow every update, every transmission, and every sign of what Voyager 2 might have just stepped into, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the moment we understand what's out there could be the moment we realize we're no longer alone.